Two of the most important elements that you can have in survival is a good knife and also a way to start fire. And that's one of the things I really try to make sure that I have on hand at all times, no matter what I'm doing, whether I'm at work, in my truck, or out in the field and on the trail. Always making sure that I have those two elements covered, and everything else can be taken care of with that, as long as I'm properly clothed, obviously. Really, one of the things that I've always tried to do is to find that perfect knife, which is a cross between utilitarian and self-defense. And so this is the FFS, which is Fight for Survival Knife. And really, to be honest with you, survival not only means being able to start fires, being able to cut cordage, being able to do things that a knife needs in a camp situation, but also in a self-defense situation, because that may be survival for you at that time. And so Up Armored Knives out of West Valley, New York. And this is from Will Welling, who is a master knife designer. Now, Will's an avid outdoorsman and a big canoe guy, and he loves to go up into Canada. And of course, being a U.S. citizen, he can't carry a handgun into Canada for self-defense. So decided to make a knife that would be perfectly utilitarian, but also designed to where it could be used as a fighting knife or a self-defense knife. But I'll tell you one thing about this knife. This is absolutely beautiful. And the craftsmanship and everything is just exceptional. And the coatings. And that's one of the things they do at Up Armored Knives and Coatings, is they do their own Cerakoting right there in-house, and they do other type finishes as well. This Cerakote is a ceramic-based coating, and it's one of the toughest coatings available. In fact, a lot of the firearm manufacturers, of course, use Cerakote as well. And it really holds up, and it prevents that carbon steel from any corrosion. Has nice micarta, natural grips, and these have been scalloped, and you can see where the scalloping comes in, which gives you a really good hold, very comfortable, and yet you have a really good gripping surface, and even when wet. And that's one of the things, of course, being out in the wild, you're typically going to run into a lot of moisture and rainy days and things like that. The steel itself is 1095 chrome vanadium, and it's the same steel that they use for the K-bar. But to me personally, I am a big carbon knife guy. I really like carbon steel, and I really like the way it cuts, the way it feels, and the way it sharpens. And so this is going to be easy to maintain and keep sharp out in the field. The grind is a flat saber grind, and the edge is a convex, and it's razor sharp. And one of the things, of course, the reason for the convex is that it is easy to sharpen. It's heat treated to 58 to 60 Rockwell hardness, and the length of the blade is 4.5 inches. The total length is 9.5 inches. It weighs 10 ounces, and then with the sheath weighs 5.5 ounces, which we're going to take a really good look at the sheath itself in just a minute. The thickness of the blade is 0.17, which is over 1/8 of an inch in thickness. And you'll look how it comes down to a nice point. So it's going to be really nice for piercing and stabbing, and yet you've got a really substantial blade to be able to do other camp work, such as batoning and things like that. The grip itself, I love the way the guard comes down. It protects your hand, and yet at the back, at the pommel, you have an area here to keep this in your hand as well in case it slips. You can bring your finger around, and you can really get a good grip on the knife for more detailed work or more fine cutting. There's not any jimping or anything on the blade, but the way you get a hold of this, it holds firm in the hand. You're not going to slip. Now, the handle connectors themselves are stainless steel tubes that are driven through and then flared. And there's 3 points, and of course it comes through, and this is going to retain that in the grip itself. This is not going to come loose. Plus, it gives you 3 holes if you want to use it in a spear type situation. And here's the lanyard that's included. I'm not a big lanyard guy. In the field, sometimes I like to have a lanyard, but a lot of times it just gets in the way. But one of the good things about this is you'll be able to find your knife if you drop it with this bright orange. The Cerakote finish is a burnt bronze. And of course, there's a lot of other different options available, even away from Cerakote, which I really like Cerakote in particular. Then they have the Up Armored logo right here on the blade. It's obviously a full tang design, and of course it goes all the way around, shaped to the grips. And one of the things that I really like about that, you don't have to worry about these knives being broken. In fact, if I ever take a knife out into the field, I always make sure that it is full tanged. I've seen too many of Nos 4's videos where he has completely destroyed knives of things that you would really think would hold up well. And this one, I believe, would be able to withstand about anything. You know, outside of fire, the knife is the most important thing to have in the elements. This is a survival tool, and you can do a lot of things with a knife and improvise with a knife that you can't really do with any other tool. But with the Fight for Survival knife and the fire starter, it makes it a great combination. But one of the things that's really important with any knife is its sheath system, its transport, the way you carry this knife on you. And of course, style, I'm going to have to give these guys a 10 because this is an incredible styled sheath. And just even the two-tone with the fire starter, which of course is an option. This has even been burnt bronzed, Cerakoted as well. I'm going to go ahead and pull it out. And then you have a small little blade. So you're not using the top of your knife, which you can. You can use the top of your knife to use this fire steel. And this is one of the cool things, though, about having other options. Fire, to me, is one of the most important things that you can have. If you don't have fire, you are in trouble. And second to that is a knife. And, you know, my one tool is definitely a knife. But fire is one of the most important things you can have. So here we already have taken care of a couple of the most important elements in survival. And it just fits right here into the sheath itself, and it has a little pocket. And as you can see, these are little button heads. And one of the things that this really speaks of quality, because a lot of times when I get different type sheaths, it has the wide, cheap looking rivets, and the sheath itself is a masterpiece in itself. Here we have these belt loops, which are also MOLLE compatible. So you can take these loops off at one end, slide them through, and put them on your MOLLE vest. You can put them on belts, packs, or whatever. So it gives you a lot of options that way. But one of the things that I really like about this sheath system, and I have a couple of other knives that are kind of similar to this, is the interior of the Kydex itself. And you can see that it is a synthetic suede material, very soft, and what that does, it keeps it very quiet. Very quiet in the field. That's really important. Whether you're hunting, whether you're just trying to keep quiet. Also, it doesn't scratch up your finish. Your standard Kydex, and this is a small tight fit. Many of you know who've had gun holsters. Putting your gun in is very noisy in kydex. With this synthetic suede, easy does it. You can also get this in leather as well. They'll do that in leather. But the sheath itself is really exceptional, and they do the sheaths in-house as well. Now, of course, being out camping and hiking and doing things with your knife, a lot of times dirt and material gets into the sheath. You can fully disassemble the sheath itself, keep it clean, and make sure that there's nothing that gets in there, because if you do get little small rocks or gravel in there, it can scratch your knife. So just keeping this clean is not that difficult to do. Now, there are a number of different options too that you can do with your grips. It's not just to the natural micarta. There are different colors, different schemes, different textures. They can do whatever, that's your preference. So, and a lot of people have specific preferences, because like I always say, everybody has different preferences, different ideals, and no one knife fits everyone, or no one grip style. Of course, Up Armored Knives also has an array of different type knife blade styles and different things to choose from. They do have knives in stock at all times, and then you can also custom order whatever you want to suit you. Now, they also do a lot of different type coatings, a lot of Duracoat coatings with designs, which skulls, rattlesnake patterns, camouflage patterns. They'll do the blade, they'll do the handles, they'll do your knife. You can send it to them, and they have a whole price list right on their website, so you can check that out. Now, a good custom knife that's well made with excellent steel is not cheap, but you get what you pay for. And one of the things a lot of guys will do, they'll buy a knife like this and they'll put it away in a safe. And there's nothing wrong with that if you like collecting knives. But if you're really getting out into the field and you're doing a lot of things out in the outdoors, there's nothing better than to have a really excellent knife. To be honest with you, when I first got this knife, it was so beautiful. The package, everything put together. I was very tempted just to do a tabletop review. But then I thought that would really be a shame with such a beautiful knife that's really meant for survival. So go ahead and test it. After a day of beating this thing and using it as batoning, cutting, slicing, hacking, a few little shiny spots in the bronze, but the finish held up extremely well. I want to thank Will for Up Armored Knives for sending the knife for the test and the review. And you can find these knives at uparmored.tripod.com. And of course, I'll have the information here and a live link down below. You can just click on it, but check it out. Whether you buy one of his custom, really well finished masterpiece knives, or you want to just have a current knife coated, they can do both. So check out uparmored.tripod.com and let Will know that Suit sent you. Guys, I know sometimes my intros are a little dramatic, but one of the things I'm trying to do is to inspire you to get off the couch, get off the computer, and get out in the woods. You'll be glad you did. Be strong, be of good courage. God bless America. Long live the Republic. Hey man, I'm making plans for lunch. Video's over.